On that note, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to welcome on stage Sierra Leone's living champion of press freedom, His Excellency Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Madabu. A round of applause and a standing ovation.
Let's sit down, please. Mr. Chief Minister, Ministers of Government, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, development partners, the BBC Media Action Team, media practitioners and partners in the media industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have to be here to make this keynote statement at the very first National Media Investment Conference. As clearly stated by the Minister, I've been a target and a victim. And I think if I help them, they will spare me in future. That is why I don't only fight to give them space. I want them to thrive by stimulating investment into the media landscape so that the media industry in this country will stand tall. But as a nation, let me start off by saying that we have shown great resilience even in the long shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic and the very difficult and challenging circumstances all over the world. In that regard, I have held very frank discussions with the private sector players and other key stakeholders with a view to dealing with the challenges and how we in Sierra Leone can cushion the effect of what is happening around the world. Together we have dialogued and taken actions that have helped us get over the worst. Fuel is now available at fuel stations, rice is now available at the markets, and for those who had wished a doomsday because of politics and would rather disinform and misinform Sierra Leoneans, doomsday is not here and will not come to Sierra Leone. We have gone through a lot as a nation, but we are a tough people. We are also a good people, I should say. We shall overcome the circumstances that we face today. So when I speak today at this two-day interactive dialogue conference among industry leaders in the media, the private sector, government, and international development partners, I do so mindful of where we have come from as a nation so far. I could quip that wherever two or more journalists are gathered, there is always the possibility of being misquoted. Some newspaper headlines have even misquoted my silence, as I'm always silent on a lot of issues. But even at the risk of being misquoted in tomorrow's headlines by some of our friends, I wish to speak from the heart today about the gains we have made as a nation in the last 4 years and why those gains matter for the future of this great nation of ours. The Independent Media Commission reports that we have over 500 registered media entities in this country, including newspapers, magazines, radio, television, and direct-to-home services. There is a budding entertainment and film industry with great talents and potential. We have one of the most liberalized, diversified, and decentralized media and communication sector in the sub-region, and in Africa as a whole, I must say. I made a manifesto commitment to this nation in 2018 to repeal the criminal libel law. The law had criminalized speech, suppressed journalism, wrecked many lives, stunted democratic governance, and stifled the promotion and protection of the guaranteed rights of citizens to speak freely about governance. During the Truth and Reconciliation Commission hearing back in 20 years ago, we recognized as a nation the cost of repressive autocracy that had shrunken off or closed free speech in this country. The painful and violent civil war years taught us that citizens must be able to speak freely and openly about governance. We all know the cost of those painful years. So my commitment to remove that obnoxious law was not just about doing something, it was about doing what our democracy requires to thrive. For the first time in the history of our great nation, no journalist is in prison for the practice of journalism. No journalist is in fear of death or imprisonment for the practice of journalism in Sierra Leone today. We have increased the right to access information, access to redress, and due process, and access to justice. For the first time in the history of this nation, also, my government has actively worked with the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists to enhance professionalism among media practitioners, promote gender inclusion and participation, and provide safeguards for the safe practice of journalism. Through the revised Independent Media Commission Act, media practitioners are guaranteed a safe space for redress and fair hearings on perceived professional lapses. For the first time ever, media professionals are listening to media professionals and working with them to make the media industry ecosystem even better. Our successes over the last 4 years have been supported by a confident and more professional media, I must say. In the Center for Disease, if the Center for Disease Controls assess us as the site of low threat for COVID-19, it is partly because our media has worked its heart out in risk communication and social mobilization. And they did that even for Ebola. And I think I will not lose the opportunity to publicly thank SLAG and the media industry for this remarkable show of patriotism. If we are assessed by the United Nations and the Millennium Challenge Corporation as a less fragile and more resilient nation and an open society, it is partly because a thriving media industry that supports good governance, protects and promotes democracy, democratic freedoms, and speak freely to how we can all work together to make this country better in spite of the challenges. In that respect, I share Bob Woodward's. Bob Woodward is a journalist, American journalist, proposal that we should measure journalism by the quality of information it presents, not the drama or the pyrotechnics with it. And indeed, there is plenty drama, and pyrotechnics of our media in our media landscape, especially with the announcement of the date for democratic elections. Rapidly, partisan headlines have already pronounced the end of the world for Sierra Leone. Ironically, some media practitioners misinform and disinform the public freely on one of the most liberalized media ecosystems in Africa, where they do not fear persecution, imprisonment, or death. They do so in a nation where, for the very first time, government has guaranteed a minimum wage for journalists and access to social security benefits, as stated by the minister already. Our human capital development gains and liberalized media ecosystem support the development of budding talents of the media industry. Also, in less than 2 weeks, the world will mark International Press Freedom Day to celebrate the fundamental principles of press freedom because of our nation's commitment towards those principles. My Minister of Information and Communication has been invited to this year's UNESCO International Press Freedom Day in Uruguay to share with the world our media transformation initiatives. Congratulations. Over the last 4 years, we have promoted, protected, and supported the media because we believe it is essential for the growth and buoyancy. I personally believe that professional journalism is the best and only an antidote to increasing the spread of malicious information on social media. We need a credible and ethical media. Our civic spaces are open to more participation. Citizens can understand and are able to freely express themselves in an open society where transparency and democratic norms goes on. So let me thank SLAG for partnering with my government to host this all-important conference. The financial and technical support of the FCDO BBC Media Actions primed project have been invaluable. Thank you for that support. And to the many media houses represented here today, civil society members, citizens, and others who have worked tirelessly with the Ministry of Information and Communication, I say a big thank you to all of you and well done. Previous speakers have bemoaned poor media infrastructure and poor investment in media in general. Even more challenging is that our resource-constrained environment has been complicated by the global economic downturns due to recent events in Europe and the COVID-19 pandemic. Fewer investment dollars and pounds or euros are chasing up even fewer investment opportunities, especially in Africa. All over Africa, and especially in Syria, operational costs are high and revenues are much reduced. I get all of that. But I want us today to make an optimistic case, ladies and gentlemen. Hence, this national investment dialogue that we have, I want us to focus not on what we cannot do, but what we can do together to change the narrative for the media landscape. I want us to talk about challenges as opportunities that we should think about together and talk about from various entry points and viewpoints. I want us first to focus on the products, the media industry as a whole. It is not about publishing and selling a few newspapers at road intersections. Like food, water, and energy, citizens also want and are willing to pay for information, education, advertising, and entertainment. In this age of technology, digital media has also expanded the possibilities in traditional media. Beyond radio and television, there are films, audio recordings, book and magazine publishing, streamlining music and video, and more. With Sierra Leone as a sub-regional hub for content creation and distribution, there is new money to be made. Investors simply need to develop a clear understanding of existing and emerging media channels and how they can develop and leverage those. Next is the general overarching investment ecosystem for media investment in Sierra Leone. Over the last 4 years, my government has streamlined processes for registering and establishing businesses. We assure potential investors of flexible and attractive investment incentives and excellent aftercare. Our commitment is not only to facilitate investment, but also to retain and support business to grow. Additionally, our investment in the telecommunications sector make potential investment in the media industry profitable. We have significantly expanded telephone coverage and internet penetration. More Sierra Leoneans are willing to pay for content and are familiar with media content delivered mobile first and through other devices. Sierra Leone has invested in higher education and worked with SLAG and women in the media, Windsor, in the last 4 years to professionalize and diversify media workforce. There is a raw talent pool available for investors to work with and develop. But media practitioners also need to reimagine and adapt their business models in order to flourish. Newspaper editors should think beyond a few advertisements and sensational or partisan front page headlines. TV producers should think beyond hosting talk sessions and reading the news only. Film producers should think beyond local romantic or copycat Nollywood gangster films. There is a content that is authentically Sierra Leonean, that is at once exciting, empowering, refreshing, and powerful. And we must pay attention to that. Audience behavior is open to change. Brand awareness and lifestyle changes are available for targeting. Think about new market possibilities that create new revenue streams. Take advantage of digital technologies and innovation to deliver new content in new ways. In essence, produce, promote, market, distribute, and deliver in new ways to national, sub-regional, and international audiences. We may be small as a country, but I want to inspire us as a nation to think big and consistently punch above our weight. This is the new direction attitude. And that is what I want us all as a nation to aspire to. Successful entrepreneurs see an opportunity in change and make a profit by providing products and services that cater towards that change. Diversify and innovate continuously. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to stay afloat. So I want to both encourage and challenge you to embrace new business models that have worked in peer nations and comparative media ecosystems. Owners, editors, publishers, producers, boards must embrace an innovative and diversification mindset. But I hear the niggling question, from where will the seed money come from to fund these innovations and diversification initiatives? As I've indicated, we have a government that is fully committed to supporting and facilitating investment in the media. We have an ecosystem that nurtures and protects investment, and especially investment in the media. Some critical infrastructure and networks are in place that will support new investments. We will continue to invest more. Investors can make a profit by serving an integrated sub-regional market. Better still, they can feel safe to reinvest or repatriate their profits. So private capital should feel comfortable investing in the media industry in Sierra Leone, using new business models that are both profitable and sustainable. I also see a lot of prospects in media cooperatives and media alliances with big regional media houses or international news groups. We may have a smaller market share, but we are a good hub for developing and expanding new business models. Earlier, I drew a nexus among independent and professional media, public interest, and building a strong participatory democracy. The independent media is getting less revenue from its traditional sources as a consequence of the recent global economic crunch and other technological factors. We need independent media practitioners to advocate for and protect the public interest. We should assure the long-term future of independent media. Concrete international action is needed to guarantee a common funding source that will support independent media as other sources of funding shrink. I therefore make a public commitment to fully associate with and support the International Fund for Public Interest Media today. Whereas my government has provided SLAG with annual subvention, we believe that international cooperation on supporting the fund will ensure the independence and the operation of the independent media in Sierra Leone. There is also the scope for greater cooperation and joint action among the local private sector, civil society, and various agencies of government. But this is why we are here over these 2 days to talk about how to make the media profitable with new funding sources and innovative business models. Government also wants to hear what more it can do to facilitate such investment. It is good to talk about it. It also makes a lot of sense to plan the future together. And that is why we have joined you, so that we can plan the future of the media in Sierra Leone. I thank you for your attention, and I wish you a fruitful deliberations.
Thank you very much.